In the fantasy hockey game, it's not always pretty. Case in point, today's episode featuring a Vancouver Canucks team on the brink. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir, my fantasy hockey degenerates. Welcome back inside the lab to your daily 30-minute source for everything that you need to prepare yourself to build a winner. Next fantasy season, it's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, and we are in the dog days of summer, but our NHL-wide top 5 fantasy target breakdown of every single club continues with the Vancouver Canucks. Shout out to the everydayers holding us down, making us your first listen every single day, even here in the late stages of June, Mr. Rodin. We're trying to get a leg up on the competition. And yeah, it's not always going to be pretty. And I'm ready for your take on this Vancouver Canucks situation because I think it's pretty clear cut. Yes, there are some positives. There are some values to be had here, but I think this is a powder keg situation. New coach, a whole bunch of question marks. Over to you. Top 5. Who are you looking at?
This is an absolute travesty of a fantasy hockey team right now. I mean, there's not a lot of great options, and I do believe our list is going to be different. It's going to be this in my mind. It's going to be the same 5 people, but the positioning of them is going to be different. But okay. I struggled with this team, and I struggled outside of Quinn Hughes. Yep. To really find any player that I personally want to go target. You know, obviously there's going to be some biasism in this for my top 5, and we're going to get into that as well. But I struggled with this top 5 list. So at number 5, I have Jake DeBrusk. I thought he had a really good season in his first year with Vancouver, played all 82 games. His second best year throughout his career so far, finished with 48 points in 82 games, had 28 goals, a career high for him as well, which he has been a 20-plus goal scorer in the National Hockey League 5 times throughout his 8 years. Physicality, 96 hits, 48 blocks, 171 shots on net. Yep. 4 game-winning goals, nothing really, 14 power play goals as well, 19 power play points overall. Again, this to me is not a player I'm personally going to seek out and try to draft. If he's available at the right time and at the right spot, 100% I'm willing to take a shot on this guy. I just think Vancouver is going to be a very bad team. And when you look at some of the teams that we've already discussed in the Western Conference, we just did our episode on Utah. I think Utah is going to be way more phenomenal fantasy hockey wise. Again, gold mine in my opinion. And even in the standings, I think they're going to be above Vancouver. There's a lot of question marks, like you said, on this team. However, Jake DeBrusk comes in at number 5 on the list. He finished number 5 at the end of the regular season based on Vancouver Canucks players. He was pre-ranked 186th, finished 139th. Again, this, for the most part of the season, he was always rostered below 50%. This is not a guy that is more frequently on a team than he is off a team.
Most definitely. I have him higher on the list. And I think after number 1, and look, I'm excited to talk about Elias Pettersson and what we think about heading into next season is going to happen. Don't forget, this offseason window is going to be an intriguing one for this Vancouver Canucks club as well. He has a full no-move clause that takes effect July 1. Brock Boeser isn't on this list for me because he's not going to be a Vancouver Canuck most likely. Otherwise, he's definitely on the list.
Same here.
Pius Suter also coming off of a really good season. He'd come back as well. Of course, I left both of them off my list because of right now their UFAs. Coming in at number 5, though, and yeah, I do have DeBrusk higher on the list because I think he is also a very good fit in this system. However, with a new coach in Adam Foote, maybe that changes, and that adds to the entire risk of this club, Steele. A team that I actually think its strength is on the blue line. We'll talk about the goaltending as well. Number 5 for me, it's Connor Garland. And when I actually looked at, and this is so clear, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but you're not drafting these guys, Steele. Connor Garland, Jake DeBrusk in very deep, like 16 GM formats. Maybe they're your last forward. All of these players, aside from the top two, I would say you're staying away from, unless, again, you're in an insanely deep league or it's a week one streamer, waiver options. But let's give Connor Garland a little bit of love here, Steele, because honestly, back now 4 seasons, 52 points, then 47, 46, 50. In the NHL and in the fantasy realm, the peripherals aren't there for this player. He's not exactly super sexy, rinse and repeat with this team. However, 50 points of offensive value for a club that also, for some reason, not very good on the power play last year, Steele, I think 16th. They were the 3rd best penalty killing unit in the NHL. Not going to give you a ton of value, but for a guy like Connor Garland, for me, he comes in at 5. I would say 5 through 3, even 2, though, Steele, mostly interchangeable on this club. Be very wary of what you're doing with the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, this is not a team I want any part of besides Quinn Hughes. And that's what it comes down to for me. I just don't think they're going to be a very good team. And again, this goes based on the top 4 guys that I have here outside Quinn Hughes. Number 4 on my list, I have Thatcher Demko. Okay. Again, he would most likely be higher on the list. I just think there's going to be some problems with the injuries that he's dealt with over the last year and a half. This knee injury is still something to be concerned about. And I know that he's back on the ice. He played 23 games, I believe, throughout this past season. Yeah, 23 games. He was 10-8-3, an .889 save percentage, a 2.90 goals against average. His goals saved above average was -6. So this is a goaltender that struggled with injuries, struggled with his mindset and his game when he was in the blue paint. And he has been a fantastic goalie. The more games that he plays in a season, the better he is. He's coming off a 918 save percentage season just a year ago where he played 51 games. You go back 4 seasons ago where he played 1 games, he had a 915 save percentage. So the more he plays, the healthier he is. Obviously, he's going to be better, but the knee injury is very concerning to me.
Most definitely.
It's not something that you want to take lightly. And with that even being said as well, I think from what I've seen, he could be in some trade rumors too. He's got, I believe, 1 year left on his contract. Yeah, he's got 1 year left at $5 million. He's an unrestricted free agent in 2026-27. There's a good chance that he gets drafted or he gets traded, and Vancouver recoups some picks and some prospects in the meantime as well. He comes in at number 4 for me. This is a goaltender again that I've been burned by multiple times now, and I'm not going down that path again. So maybe he falls into that 0G strategy, but I'm staying away from the Vancouver Canucks and Thatcher Demko.
I copped out a little bit here, Steele, because not only do I have 2 players at 4, because I wanted to throw Kiefer Sherwood into the honorable mention realm. I know. Just ride with me for a second. But I think there's a lot of value in Kiefer Sherwood, and I think you're also forgetting an angle here with the goaltending. They just threw a long-term deal at Kevyn Lankinen, who was, at times last year, pretty good. Did he show his true backup nature at times as well? Sure. However, I think given 25, 15, and 10 last year with 4 shutouts, 2.62 goals against, and a 902 save percentage, I think there is some value here in Kevyn Lankinen. Again, I'm not drafting him. I wouldn't even throw him into 0G because it's so risky with this club. He's, to me, the prototypical add him week to week when the Canucks have a good schedule and then you drop him again. I do think with him playing 51 games last year, I'm going to say I could see a 50-50 split between the 2 goaltenders, but I'm going to lean to Lankinen only because of the deal that he just got and because of all of those injury factors with Thatcher Demko. Let's talk about the rest of my sketchy Vancouver Canucks list. After the break, we'll roll on with the rest of our NHL-wide breakdown of all the top 5 fantasy targets later in the week. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Wonderful Pistachios. You need a snack that's both delicious and nutritious. Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep full longer. Right now, we're loving the no-shell variety as well, the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days, at the desk, on a roadie, or you just need a quick protein boost. They're our go-to on this podcast, and if you love cracking in to the open-shell variety with that crunch, the in-shell go-tos as well, they're classic. Get snacking. Get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com today to learn more.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. Flip, over to you, my friend. Copping out with 2 players at the number 4 position. So sorry, who are the guys who are at number 4? You have 2 players.
It's a sloppy situation because here's what I did. I had Kiefer Sherwood as an honorable mention, and then I wanted to get him in on the list. I still like DeBrusk at 3. I think there's more offensive upside. I guess what I wanted to do was give Kiefer Sherwood some flowers here, and I assume he's on your list because I know how much you like Banger League beauties and how much peripherals he brings. So I just wanted to make sure that I show him some love after a year in which 40 points and set the league record with 462 hits. There's got to be some value in Kiefer Sherwood, so it felt like a mistake to not have him in the top 5. So it's sloppy, but I think I salvaged it a little bit.
And sorry, who was the second player?
Lankinen and Sherwood, because I like Lankinen a little bit more than Demko, but I think we both have a goaltender on this team placed accurately at the 4 spot.
Yeah, we do have a goaltender placed in the 4 spot, and maybe it is a 50-50 split. So those guys coming at number 4 is fine. Number 3 on the list for yours truly. Guess who it is? Guess who it is? It's Elias Pettersson. Comes in at number 3. He's probably higher on your list.
Yeah, he's number 2.
I'm going to show some more flowers to Kiefer Sherwood. That's how high I have it on my list. So, Elias Pettersson for me is just he's an anomaly. He's an enigma. I don't really know where to place him. Where to place him accurately. I just, in my humble opinion, I just don't think he's that guy. I don't think he can be that guy with how the team is set right now. And obviously struggled with some injuries this past year. For the most part, he's been healthy over the last 4 seasons. You know, after that 102-point year back in 2022, he dropped to 89. Then he drops to 45. 45 points in 64 games. I just don't see him being that number 1 guy with not a lot of help in the offensive group. Vancouver only they have just over $12 million in cap space. And right now the top line is Jake DeBrusk, Elias Pettersson, and Jonathan Lekermacki. Like, that is not a great first line. And I know they're going to adjust it this offseason. I still don't believe, even with a few additions to the top 6 group, that Pettersson is going to jump off the page fantasy hockey-wise. So I'm putting him at number 3. I think he finishes somewhere around 60, 65 points. To me, I just think this is a player that struggles in between the ears. His mentality to the game.
Definitely.
There's a lot of times where it just doesn't look like he wants to be out there. It doesn't look like he wants to be playing. And maybe it is an organization thing. Maybe it's a Vancouver thing. And maybe he doesn't want to be there, even though he signed that $11 million deal over the next 8 seasons. It is what it is. He comes in at number 3 for me. I'm holding a lot more value in Quinn Hughes and the guy I have at number 2.
And I think that's probably the safer route, banking on Kiefer Sherwood to throw out another crooked number of hits and maybe chip in with 40 or 50 bonus points. And I have him at 2 on my list because I can remember you and I talking about this player at length way before all of the true issues. When I had him, I think we did a young gun list maybe 3 years ago, and he was right at the top of my list. And you threw the same take that you just threw at me then now. You didn't buy into it, and it's really played out that way. So kudos to you for kind of having your finger on that with this player. The upside is still there. The potential is still there, but we're running out of time, aren't we? We're really running out of patience as fantasy cats, banking on this guy to be an 80-point player, and he goes absolutely ghost. I've been bringing up this top 200 list on NHL.com, Steele, and this is based on most, I think it's just not categorical, just standard leagues. Yeah, hockey players in standard leagues, but it's a good measuring stick, right? It's nice to see where the experts on NHL.com have some of these players and then where we have them. Elias Pettersson comes in after Quinn Hughes, obviously, as the second-ranked player. Quinn Hughes on the board here is sitting at 16th. Next player is Pettersson at 141. Right behind him is Kiefer Sherwood.
Wow.
So I don't think – so Elias Pettersson, by the way, is at 139. Kiefer Sherwood at 141, along with players like Matt Barzal, Alexei Protas, Bo Horvat, Noah Dobson. So maybe we need to pay attention to a guy who had 400-plus hits and can still chip in with 40 points. I'm glad you're going to talk about him. Elias Pettersson, enigma, disappointing. He can still shoot the puck. The upside is there. But let's be honest, and I'll end it with this and turn it back to you. It has been a complete mess, dumpster fire situation in Vancouver in terms of all the off-ice distractions. They've had gas can pressers at will. Rutherford's been throwing things in the media. He said they need 3 elite offensive additions into the top 6 for this team to compete. I don't see it, but I agree with him and you that top 6 is looking a little haggard right now.
It is, and I'm not sure what they're going to do to entice players to want to sign in Vancouver with how things have shaped up over the last couple of seasons. But hey, they traded JT Miller. Rick Tocchet's gone. New coach in, new system. Let's see what happens. At number 2 on my list, real quickly, I do have Kiefer Sherwood, and I am buying into this banger league category that he has really jumped off the page. And even in head-to-head fantasy points standard leagues, he was the number 1 Vancouver Canuck player on the board. And I know Quinn Hughes would be there at number 1 if he played a full 82 games. So, obviously got to take that with a grain of salt. He would have been number 1. And I know for a fact that I'm going to be in the minority and that Elias Pettersson is going to get drafted way before Kiefer Sherwood. But Sherwood finished 61st in Yahoo rankings at the end of the regular season after being pre-ranked 189th. And it was a career year for him. Is he able to do another 400-plus, 450-plus hit season? Most likely not, but with the way he plays, he's a pit bull out there. He's running you into the boards. He's clean with it, too. He's not a dirty player. He had a career year, 40 points in 78 games, and all of that while playing under 15 minutes. This is a guy who I think should be in the top 6 group. This is a guy that reminds me a lot of Zach Hyman, not in the sense of Hyman being a physical player, but just works his tail off. He's digging for pucks. He's battling in the corners. He's doing all those nitty-gritty, dirty little things that need to do to be successful in the National Hockey League. I think he deserves even more time. 16 and a half minutes of average ice time. I could see that happening. Again, 462 hits, 141 shots, 40 points. I think he's going to replicate that once again. Maybe a 40, 45-point season. The hits somewhere around 350 to 400 would be absolutely fantastic. And then he ups the shots. He ups the blocks as well. This, to me, he comes in at number 2 because of what he brings peripherally.
I don't want to be overall doom and gloom with this squad, Steele, because I think this is a classic case of fantasy-wise, I'm fairly confident in everything we've said on today's show. Whereas maybe they can still lurk around for a bubble wildcard spot. Like, I'm not trying to tear down this organization because, look, they had the 3rd most road wins in the Western Conference last year. Good teams win on the road. They also had the 3rd best penalty kill in the league. Good teams kill penalties. Yes, the forward group needs some help, for sure. Yes, the goaltending is a bit of a powder keg. Kevin Lankinen, career backup. A guy in Demko who, when he is healthy, he's elite, but that hasn't ever been the case. And then a guy in Shelovs who, I know everyone loves Shelovs because he looked okay in a couple of playoff games. No sample size. So, shout out to Abbotsford Canucks. Just won the Calder. Anyway, you know what I'm getting at. Fantasy-wise, I'm going to stand firm, stand on business with this. You don't want any piece of this other than Quinn Hughes unless you want to get real risky or you need a banger league Butte and Sherwood. But on the ice, wild card bubble team, maybe.
It is a maybe. It's going to be interesting when we do our preseason predictions of where these teams finish. After the break, we're going to explain to you. I mean, you already know out there, but we're going to try to explain even further why Quinn Hughes is the #1 Vancouver Canuck player and one of the best defensemen in the league right now. All of that and more coming up after the break. Once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review for your boys here, Livingstone and Steele Rodin. Over to you, my friend. Kick us off. Quinn Hughes, #1 on the list. Obviously, there's a good reason why we have him here.
Yeah, most definitely. And interestingly enough, yesterday, 2 days ago, whenever this episode actually goes out, my bad, June 23rd, Steele, NHL.com dropped the most recent ranking list that they have, and it was defensemen. Cale Makar, #1, check, we had that. Zach Werenski, #2, makes sense to me. Quinn Hughes at 3, makes sense to both of us, I would say. Then the list is interesting. Hedman, Sider, Dahlin, Bouchard, Yossi, your boy at 9, Sanderson, and Lane Hudson coming in at 10. No Mackenzie Weegar, he slides in at 12. These are some really elite defensemen. Quinn Hughes deserves to be in that conversation. I love him at 3. Very accurate list. Shout out to the boys and gals at NHL.com Fantasy. Quinn Hughes, what can you say about this player other than without him, this Canucks team, and those rumors are growing, this Canucks team is even more of a mess. 68 games, 76 points. What's your take on this deal? Because there are rumblings out there that he wants to join his brothers in New Jersey. I know that could just be rumors, but when you've seen what's happened, and I know he likes Adam Foote, all of that madness, this is part of the powder keg. Because if things start to go south and they don't really address it at all in this offseason, which I'm sure they'll try to do, oh, baby, even that pick in Quinn Hughes could be one of those kinds of angles in your fantasy season that start off slow if this Canucks team is as bad as we think it might be.
Look, I think there is a real possibility that he ends up in New Jersey with his brothers. And why wouldn't you want to play with your two brothers if you're all in the National Hockey League? And look, the smart thing would be to do, if it does come to that, the front office is going to trade him. And that's going to be a trade where you're going to see one of those NBA blockbuster trades where you get a couple of really good NHL ready players, but then like 4 or 5 first-round picks or whatever. That's what Quinn Hughes' value is. He's a top defenseman. And just to be clear, I had him at #7 on my list for top 10 defensemen. He wasn't even in the top 5, and that's because of what he does peripherally, or what he doesn't do. This guy doesn't hit. This guy really doesn't block that much. 192 shots. I don't think that's enough for a guy who's quarterbacking the first power play unit, who plays over 25 minutes of average ice time. 25 and a half minutes of average ice time. I think he could be doing a lot more. Offensively, he's an absolute stud and superstar out there. Back-to-back 15-plus goal seasons, 76 points this past year in 68. He was on pace for over 90 once again. He had 92 points in 82 games just the year prior to this one. So offensively, he's an absolute stud. We know what he does on the power play. We know what he does in creating plays from his own zone, working the puck up the ice, and being able to use his edge work in speed as well, and his ability to create those moments and those opportunities in the offensive zone with his vision making. It's incredible. Other than that, peripherally, that's why I put so much stock in guys like Jake Sanderson, Mackenzie Weegar, Moritz Seider, who I have all above Quinn Hughes in the top 10 list. To me, Quinn Hughes is still one of the best defensemen in the league. But I think I said this even just last year or a year ago. I don't know if Quinn Hughes is a defenseman, especially on where he is right now on this team. I don't know if he's a defenseman that you can win a Stanley Cup with. Because when it comes to playoff hockey, like we've talked about, it's a different game than the regular season. And I don't know if he's strong enough to make those plays in front of his goaltender in the defensive zone, boxing out guys, taking those blocks, taking those hits. I just personally don't see it. I think he needs a lot more help, obviously, up front
He does.
and on the blue line. And going to a place like New Jersey where you have guys who are just absolute beasts out there who can protect him. I'm not saying that like a guy like Tyler Myers can't protect him or Philip Ronek maybe, but the blue line to me is still not great.
Yeah, this is tough for me. And again, what I'm trying to really picture is when you have a team that up the middle has Philip Hedl right now as your second line center, Teddy Bluger, and Atu Ratti. My goodness me, that's a problem. And that probably plays into a little bit like if Quinn Hughes is hypothetically on a team like the Devils with much more offensive upside, or at least for now, yeah, I could see the numbers really exploding. It's just really, it's got to shake out in this offseason. And for me right now, I still would put Quinn Hughes at number 3 in the fantasy realm. We look at it a little differently. He's still elite. He's a Norris winner for a reason. And if he is in any other situation, for the most part, again, I'm not really trying to tear down the Canucks, but I can already feel some heat coming from Canucks fans. Let's just see what he could potentially do. Number 1, Quinn Hughes, boom. We'll be here the rest of the NHL-wide breakdown.
Yes, we will. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NHL Podcast. There is no off season. We bring you the daily league-wide stories that matter the most with local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. And once again, from your boys here, Livingstone and Steele Rodin, we wish you good luck with all those summer bets this summer. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.